We are following breaking news at this hour. The Rockville City Police Department is providing an update on the shooting that happened yesterday inside Wootton High School in Rockville. A 16-year-old student was shot inside the school and another student was taken into police custody. Let's take you live to the press conference now.
The second victim did not suffer injury. However, through investigation, we learned that the suspect in the case pointed a firearm at that person earlier in the day prior to this shooting occurring. That victim is a 15-year-old female juvenile. At this time, I'll turn it over to State's Attorney John McCarthy for his commentary.
Good afternoon. My name is John McCarthy, and I'm the State's Attorney for Montgomery County. I'm happy to join Chief West and the men and women that represent all the other allied agencies that responded so beautifully yesterday to the events at Wootton High School. In this particular matter, there was scheduled to be a bond review today for the 16-year-old who was named as the defendant in this case. However, the processing of that prisoner took past midnight, and it did not allow the bond to be scheduled in time for today's hearing. The bond review in this matter, and it will be for all the same charges that the chief just outlined: the second-degree murder, 2 first-degree assaults, and multiple handgun offenses, will take place tomorrow at 1 p.m. before Judge Glynn, who is a district court judge. Literally, the building in which this is held is probably about 100 yards away from where we are. That bond review will take place at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There's already been set a preliminary hearing on date in this case, and the preliminary hearing date is for February the 20th at 9:30 in the district court. So there are 2 dates that are here. Now, the defendant in this case is 16 years old. He's charged originally because under the laws that exist in Maryland, if you commit either an attempted first or second-degree murder or use a handgun in the commission of those crimes, the original jurisdiction is in the adult court. That is why, despite him being only 16, he is in the adult court based on the way the law exists in Maryland. Interestingly enough, that is what is now being debated in the Maryland legislature as to whether or not those laws should be changed and whether or not these matters could be properly handled in the juvenile division of the court rather than the adult system. Again, it's just ironic that this would happen at a time when literally on Thursday of this week, this would be debated in the House of Delegates as to whether or not we're going to change how we would handle these matters and whether or not that would be an appropriate place or where a child could receive appropriate treatment for whatever led them to become involved in crime. Having said that, I'm going to reserve the remainder of my comments to following the bond review. There will be some comment after Judge Glynn sets the bond in this matter. I will tell you, as of right now, the defendant is being held without bond in a detention facility here in the county.
We had a lot of questions about the coordinated response yesterday, and I'd really like to talk about that for our community. This was a coordinated response between 3 significant law enforcement agencies in this county: the Rockville Police, Montgomery County, and the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office. In my time as a law enforcement officer, I've never seen such a fluid and smooth operation. We don't want these events to occur in any of our schools in this city or in this county, but I can assure you that if those things do happen, our officers are trained, they're prepared, and yesterday they acted without hesitation. The first arriving officers from all 3 police agencies, without due regard for their own safety, entered that school, and they used their training based on the active shooter protocol. They did not wait in the parking lot. They did not wait for backup. They made entry to save and preserve lives. And for that, I'm extremely proud of everybody's effort. At this time, I'd like to ask Sheriff Wee if he'd give some commentary on that joint response.
Thank you, Chief. Again, good afternoon. My name is Maxwell Wee, and I'm the sheriff here in Montgomery County. First off, let me reiterate our thoughts and support for the victims of this tragic incident, as well as all the students, the staff, and the greater Wootton High School family that's been affected. As the chief said, We are very thankful for the coordinated efforts, the training that we put in on the front end by the agencies here in Montgomery County. I'm so incredibly thankful by our Montgomery County police partners, our municipalities throughout the county, certainly to include Rockville City, as well as the amazing work done daily by our sheriff's deputies. In this specific incident, it's my understanding we had over 15 sheriff's deputies that responded, and that commonality training that we work together before these types of critical incidents, again, as the chief mentioned, we're able to respond as one unified force. And again, I'm very appreciative of all the work that's done by our law enforcement agencies. Thank you, Chief.
Just as a follow-up, the victim in this case remains in stable condition at an area hospital. At this time, we'll take a few questions.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the relationship between the suspect and the victim, or anything you've gleaned from the investigation so far?
So I can tell you the victim in this case and the suspect are acquaintances. We are still investigating whatever that relationship may be and whatever the motive was for this crime.
Can you speak to the 15-year-old as well? Does that mean charges could be upgraded if he pointed a gun at somebody else? And maybe you said this, but the 15-year-old was also a Wootton High School student?
Also a Wootton High School student. We had probable cause to file the charges for first and second degree assault. Whether or not charges get upgraded or downgraded would be left to the good judgment of our state's attorney.
So is that second first-degree assault charge related to the 15-year-old or both related to the initial victim? And second, was law enforcement aware that he was flashing this gun on social media inside the school before the shooting?
So the second count of first-degree assault, second count of second-degree assault are related to the second 15-year-old victim. As far as what was occurring in that school prior to this shooting, that all remains under investigation by our detectives at this time. Yes, ma'am.
Did the gun pointing incident, was that before or after the actual shooting?
We've learned that that was before the actual shooting.
And was that in a classroom? Can you share where that happened in the school?
At this point, that remains under investigation. I'll take one more question.
Was he wearing an ankle monitor at the time?
Mr. McCarthy?
I have no comment. Was it a ghost gun?
It was a polymer 89mm handgun, commonly referred to as a ghost gun. That's correct.
And how concerning is that?
It's very concerning for various reasons. One, we know that those types of firearms are very difficult to trace if we can do that at all. Part of our investigation will include where did that firearm come from, how did that student come into possession of that firearm, and how did it get into the school.
Where was the student and the gun found? You said, it sounded like you said the student, or the suspect, the shooter, was found outside the school, and I was wondering, was the gun also found outside?
Yeah, the student was located in close proximity to the school. We used a surveillance team from the Montgomery County Department of Police. We were very confident shortly after this incident as to who this suspect was and where he was at the time. That's what led to the very quick apprehension of him. The firearm was not located in the school. It was located late last night away from the school as part of the ongoing investigation.
Any sense of motive in this case, and would metal detectors have prevented this in the first place?
The motive in this case is still under investigation, and I believe the superintendent of schools addressed metal detectors and AI technology last night.
Does law enforcement want to weigh in on metal detectors?
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have been listening to the Rockville City Police Chief and also Montgomery County State's Attorney John McCarthy speaking to the incident yesterday out of Wootton High School. This is new information that we are getting in right now. Our Matt Gregory will have more for you in our newscast, but coming out of this press conference, we have learned several things. Most importantly, we now know for sure that the suspect will have a bond review hearing that is scheduled for tomorrow at 1 p.m. A bond review will be held by Judge Glenn. He is facing a slew of serious charges here, including attempted second-degree murder, 2 counts of first-degree assault, 2 counts of second-degree assault, and several firearms charges, including possession of a dangerous weapon on school property. The chief speaking there that they were able to locate that gun, a polymer 89mm handgun, away from the school late last night. It was not located inside the school. Police have identified the suspected shooter as Khalil White Villatoro. He is a fellow student of the victim who was shot, 16 years old, both 16 years old, and we're told that he is still recovering. Meanwhile, the suspected shooter will be held without bond at the detention facility in the county and will be charged as an adult. Two victims here in this situation. One person again charged. The suspect allegedly pointed the gun at a 15-year-old girl earlier in the day. Because of the timing of finding the gun, he again won't have a bond hearing today. But new information coming out. We'll have more for you coming up in the news at 4 p.m. Join us then. We'll also have more for you on our website, WUSA9.com.